Hi there, Jeremy, Director of Reiki here. In this video, what I'd like to do is look at the question of how long a Reiki course should go for. Now, you're probably aware that in Reiki, you've got three main levels. You've got Reiki 1, Reiki 2, and Reiki 3, or what's otherwise known as the Reiki Master level. And a typical length for these courses is Reiki 1 lasts for 2 days, Reiki 2 is also 2 days, and Reiki 3, or the Master level, goes for 3 days. Now, you'll notice that the length of the courses is very short. And so for that reason, it's important to have gaps between the courses. And what these gaps between the courses will enable you to do is really practice what you've learned so that you can go deeper into it. Now, it is true that if you've done Reiki 1, you'll immediately be very good at the hands-on healing. But remember, there are many other components to the Reiki system, for instance, meditations, and these do take time to really develop and to master. So having a gap between courses is therefore important. So it's okay to have a course that lasts a couple of days, but then you need to then spend quite a bit of time working on what you learn in the course. Now, if you find that you've got courses which are less than that time frame I've given you, 2 days for level 1, 2 days for level 2, and 3 days for master level, then probably you're being shortchanged. I know as a teacher, and I've done hundreds of courses, it's a struggle to get through all the material in the 2 days for the level 1. So I can't really imagine what the people are doing in 1 day. That's really going to be rushing through, and most likely they'll be missing out lots of really vital information. So my recommendation to you, if you're looking for a course, is do make sure that you're getting at least 2 days for level 1, 2 days for level 2, and 3 days for the master level. Now, with master level, things can get a little bit confusing. As a rule, most people will take 2 days for level 1 and 2 days for level 2. With master level, the majority of people do take 3 days, but you have some people who take it over a much lengthier time span. For instance, some people teach master level over a year. Now, these people can become a little bit dogmatic on this, and they can insist that this is the only correct way to do it. That actually isn't the case, even if I have to admit that teaching over a sort of a lengthier period makes some sense. You think, well, obviously there's a lot of things to practice and work on in master level, so it makes sense in a way to take your time. The problem is that most of these courses, when they take a longer time, end up inventing material. For instance, one popular thing many courses do is they start teaching many Reiki symbols. Now, in the traditional Japanese system, you've only actually got 4 symbols, but some courses which teach over a year will produce a new so-called Reiki symbol every week. And these symbols might be good, but they're not part of the original Reiki system. So in a sense, as I said, they're inventing material. Now, for those people who say, but you must do it over a longer period, it makes no sense to do it over a short period, it's not a proper course if you only take 3 days, well, there's not really any historical support for that. If you go back to some famous students of Reiki, for instance, a guy called Dr. Hayashi, who was one of Usui, the founder of Reiki's better known students, he learned all of his Reiki levels in less than a year. So normally you have a gap between levels, and you often have a gap of up to a month plus for between 1 and 2, and a year typically between 2 and 3. But he did it all in a much shorter time, and that was totally okay for Usui. So it's not true to say that you needed, if you went back to Usui, the founder's time, he taught over a longer period. He didn't actually do that. And then if you go to the most influential Reiki teacher ever, that's a lady called Mrs. Takata, and she trained a lot of people in Reiki, but she stuck to this short time frame. In fact, she went 2 days, 2 days, and 2 days for the different levels. So she even taught master level in 2 days. And so again, it's not true that if you go back to sort of the famous Reiki historical figures, they taught over a longer period of time. That wasn't necessarily the case. So what do I personally do? The way I do it is I teach the standard 2 days for level 1 and level 2, and I teach 3 days for the master level. But what I do is I actually put material around the courses. So I have a pre-course which helps prepare students, where they go through different meditations and things to help them, be in the most receptive state they can be on the weekend. And then I have post courses, for instance, 21-day e-programs, and I've got video portals where you've got videos like this one where I kind of go more deeply into the material. And the other thing I do is I work with students after the course. You know, I'm happy, answer their questions. I've got practice nights where they can come ask questions and learn new skills. So in a sense, although the course itself is short, there's material and practice around the course to sort of deepen everything they've learned. So ultimately what I want you to take away from this video is there's nothing wrong with doing a course which has the standard time frame of 2 days for level 1, 2 days for level 2 and 3 days for master level. But you have to realize that if you do that, you're not going to be a master of all the things you learnt in the course at the end of the weekend. Things like the meditations you learnt, they take more time. And so you need to do the work. Reiki ultimately needs to be more than just the certificate, you know, the piece of paper. The piece of paper itself doesn't mean anything. What means something is how deeply you've gone into your practice. So you can have a piece of paper which says you're a Reiki master, but if you haven't really gone deeply into the practice, then that piece of paper is more or less worthless. So you can't cheat the system, but that said, we don't need to get all fussy about time frame and say that the courses need to be longer than the standard time frames, because those standard time frames do work well. So hope that's given you a bit of an idea of how long a course should be and why you've got different lengths of time. And I will see you hopefully on another video.